Why are some Americans so angry about Joe Biden canceling billions of student debt loans? Because they already paid theirs off. A few reasons I know by interacting with people. 1. People who paid the loan don't like the idea that they didn't get this benefit. They cut their savings and lifestyle to pay back the loan faster, on time. 2. This doesn't solve problem, but it's a signal to education institution that they can charge as they want and government will come later and bailed out the students. 3. Adding to inflation. 4. People who don't go to college are indirectly contributing towards this forgiveness. And there is no benefits they are getting out of this. They see as a waste of their taxes. 5. This is just a political move and doesn't solve the core issue. Personally, I fall under 2 options. I think this will just encourage the universities to charge as much as they can. I don't care if some loans are forgiven. When I graduated 30 years ago, tuition was $3,000 a year. Now it's closer to $20,000. In state school. But I can understand being upset if you didn't go to school because you couldn't afford it. And now you find out you could have borrowed and had it forgiven. But let's not forget that almost every small business got free loans during the pandemic. So maybe we should all relax a little. Freakonomics podcast had an episode about this. Lots of points, but a big one is that it's paid by taxpayers. And college or university graduates typically have much higher incomes throughout their lives. So it's like a tax break for the statistically most likely group of people to not need a tax break. Also, it incentivizes bad debt management by students in the future that might see a chance that future debt would be canceled. Lastly, it pisses people off if they did the right thing and prioritized their student debt payments. Since nobody in this thread seems to have found an actual answer, because the money still needs to be paid, canceling student loans doesn't make the millions of notes suddenly evaporate. It forces the tax system to adopt the debt, of which there is a lot. Just because the majority of loans are federally funded, that doesn't mean they can just be torn in half. It's still real money, owed to private companies that the government will be forced to pay. This redirects the burden to the taxpayers rather than the individual borrowers. I signed for a loan to buy my truck. I don't particularly want to pay it, but it's what I agreed to, and that makes it my responsibility, not my neighbor's. And the second reason is cancellation does not solve the core problem of why student debt is so high to begin with. It doesn't go after tuition hyperinflation and essentially guarantees loan companies and schools that they can make up whatever numbers they like and the government will pay for it. Not only would it not solve any problems, it would arguably introduce some major new ones. I don't entirely understand how it works. If we forgive loans now, will we forgive loans for the next batch of students, or will they just end up screwed? If you do nothing about the cost of education, then forgiving loans seems pointless because it doesn't stop the cycle of putting students in massive amounts of debt. It does nothing to stem the cause. I don't support cancellation, but I sure as hell support loans being interest-free, at least the portion that covers tuition. Because we got into this problem by making money for higher education artificially cheap. Tuition grew to account for all the secured loans and grants. Now we are doing it again and will make the problem worse for the next crop of students. Fighting fire with gasoline doesn't work. And it's not fair to the people who haven't gone yet, nor the people who didn't go, as they will be paying the price through increased tuition or inflation, or both, while receiving none of the benefit. The people who benefit most need it the least. We spend a lot of money to make a problem worse and delay fixing it even longer. The absolute worst part is it's the college-educated who should understand this is both unjust and unwise. But their tuition didn't buy them any principles or wisdom. Only 35% of Americans have college degrees. The 65% are justifiably frustrated their taxes are going to support those folks who on average make more money and live longer, better lives. Money is really rough in this economy. Imagine paying hundreds and thousands of dollars on something for years because you're under contractual agreement, working hard, busting your butt, and almost going broke in some cases, just to pay down a loan, only for you to finally pay it off and give all that money, and then find out that the next round of people don't have to pay. Kinda sucks and is a slap in the face. I don't think that people are necessarily mad at loans being forgiven. They're just mad at the fact that all of the money they spent paying off their loans and the stress and hardships that came along with it, they'll never get that money back. I can't blame them for feeling some type of way. It's very easy to think they're just bitter if you haven't gone through the hassle of paying the loans off. I wish that since loans are being forgiven, people who paid off their loans prior to this could at least get some type of compensation to be fair. But we don't live in that kind of world, unfortunately. Well, would you consider it fair to pay off a loan someone else took on in good faith? How come my loans don't get paid off? That's probably the sentiment. It also distorts the market for higher education, and may end up making education more expensive overall. If we're going to help out the working class, let's help out the working class. All of it. Lots of people who took out student loans are doing just fine and they don't really need the help. Lots of people who didn't go to college because they knew they couldn't afford it are struggling. Why should the people who chose to take out student loans get a handout while other people who are struggling have to pay for it? There's a few reasons I've heard. Number 1. The unfair reason. Many people took out student loans and then paid them off by working very hard over a long period of time. Number 2. The monetary reason. The money to pay off these loans will eventually catch up to the American taxpayer somehow. Whether it be through tax hikes or inflation, we all will eventually pay for it. Number 3. The big picture reason. The reason people were able to take these massive burdens of student loans is because the government started subsidizing them. Back in the day, it used to be a risk for a bank to give a university hopeful a loan, and they were more careful to issue loans to people who they thought could earn a decent living and pay it off. When the government started subsidizing loans, the banks gave everyone and their mom student loans, and the universities upped college costs because the loans were guaranteed. Basically, the government is providing a temporary solution to a problem that they themselves caused. Number 4. The constitutional reason. The president does not have the power to unilaterally decide to spend billions of dollars like this. It's an abuse of presidential authority. This should have been a bill presented in the legislature. Congress holds the purse strings, not the president. Edit. I did not intend to have the font be so massive and I don't know how to adjust it. My apologies. You already pay your mortgage to the bank. Why would you be angry if they made you pay my mortgage too? Why wouldn't you want my family to prosper? Do you see why that would only benefit people who bought homes? And put the cost on people who made the decision not to buy homes would have to contribute to the betterment of people who made a bad financial decision. I don't want to pay a huge amount of taxes for a very specific subset of people to have a very specific subset of loans cleared. The guy who went to trade school, and the one who invested thousands to start a business, should not have to fund your decisions while battling their own debt. Not sure I'm mad, and I sure don't understand the economic mechanisms at play, but 1. Should the president be able to make a decision that affects this many people and this many dollars? Let's have a conversation as a country about free education. The Fed pays the bills with my taxes. 2. The problem is that universities have been continuing to raise tuition costs and bloat their staffs. I worked briefly at my grad school. The profs made nothing. So where is all that tuition going? Let's solve this problem. 3. I assume canceling debt means the Fed will pay the loan makers. These companies are giving 6-digit loans to 18-year-old kids with their family's cosign. So tuition continues to go up. Banks prey on students. And with a pen stroke, none of these problems are fixed. Ultimately, I think the US is doomed because our leadership doesn't care about us citizens. They only care about power and money. Politicians, web media, foreign governments are all focused keeping us divided, so we argue about stupid stuff instead and living to our potential and creating coalition around the world. Buying votes. Forgiving debt just creates more inflation, and we are already drowning in inflation. It is because it is immoral to ask people who didn't take on the debt to pay for it. You agreed to take the loan. No one forced you. The debate should be the practice itself. Once you agree to take on a loan, that's on you though. Maybe you can explain why someone who graduated high school and became a welder should pay extra taxes so someone else can party and then flunk out of college? Is it any better if they go to a super high-cost private university to get a worthless degree? What do you call someone who borrows a bunch of money and never pays it back? A thief. If you waste your own money to get a worthless degree or take classes that lead to nothing, it's your money, so do what you want. I don't expect my government to take my money and dump it out a window to any deadbeat that wants it. The anger comes in because it shows how little politicians care about the taxes people pay. It's unpopular to make them pay their debts? Okay, just let it go and print more paper money. It's not like anyone will miss it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.